Assalamu alaikum and warm welcome. I hope you are all doing well for this lovely morning. I am Dr. Suad Jassim, an assistant professor at Managerial and Financial Sciences Department here at Al-Zahra College for Women. And it's an immense pleasure to be your host for today's seminar. And I hope you will find it very enjoyable and fruitful at the same time. As we all know, the emergence and advocacy of scientific research is becoming more important in current time and coming future. Henceforth, one of Al-Zahra College for Women goals to link scientific research with learning and teaching. So in today's second episode on scientific research, teaching and learning nexus, we will talk about research paper entitled Cultural Determinants of Student Academic Performance, Evidence from Al-Zahra College for Women. This paper, written by Dr. Revenio Jalagat, Dr. V. Diliwai, and Dr. Anas Bishare. This paper, published in International Journal of Recent Advances in Organizational Behavior and Decisions. Before we begin, I would like to mention that it would be much appreciated if you can fill the form after this presentation. We'll send you the link. Fill the form. Note that Managerial and Financial Science Department staff academic, they have to fill all the pages. Other participants, they have to fill just the first pages, just the first page. And if you are outside of Oman, don't worry about it. One more thing, this session or this seminar, there will be awarded certificate after presentation. We'll send you the link. So now let me introduce Dr. Revenio Jalagat. He's an assistant professor in management at Managerial and Financial Sciences Department here at the Zahra College for Women. Dr. Revenio, the floor is yours.
Good morning, my dear colleagues, and above all, we thank you in behalf of Al-Zahra College for the distinguished guests from outside who have given their time to be here to witness this presentation. And also, I want to thank also for the opportunity given by the Dean of Al-Zahra, Dr. Muzalam, and the Assistant Dean, Dr. Salim, and also the department through Dr. Yahya Al-Nadi. Without further ado, I will start my presentation.
Amir Al-Balushi. Okay.
Can you? Doctor, can you help me? Where I can find my list. No, not open. Okay. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everybody, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
This stuff, yeah. Share screen. Okay, so slideshow. Okay, so once again, good morning. And the title of my presentation is about cultural determinants of students' academic performance, evidence from Al-Zahra College for Women. So I will start. So the content of this research, as shown here, is introduction, comparison of culture. So we will discuss about Asian and Western culture, then the importance of the study, research objectives, research hypothesis, definition of study variables, research methodology, the key findings, conclusion, and recommendations. So as we all know, there are many definitions of culture, but I just cite one of the definitions here, that culture plays a big role in shaping people's behavior, especially in the way we live and the way we deal with others. So in Oman context, for example, Oman preserved the tradition and customs of not only for citizens, but also for expats who are living in Oman. I want you to direct our attention uh, of how culture actually impacts academic performance. So is there really an impact? Because culture is, it has so many dimensions. It has many types. But the focus of our research is actually linking culture to academic performance. So here I want to show to you some comparison between Asian and Western culture. So first and foremost, for Asians like us, by the way, Oman and Middle East countries, they are part of Asia. So what are the prevailing character behavior that we exhibited in our in Asia, for example? So here you can say that Asian people like us, we are more, our emphasis is more on academic performance. We want to be the top of the class. We want to get high marks. However, in the Western countries, they are more pragmatic. They more on practicalities. So they may not need high marks, for example, but they wanted to be in action oriented. So you might think that for Asian people, we get the highest mark, but employment can be difficult. But for Western people, not only they might have not a very high marks, but through their experience, they can be easily be hired. Also, in China, for example, they are more driven with culture. So the success in terms of academics is actually embedded with culture. While in the Western country, excellence is less emphasized. Not that it's not there, but it's like according to literatures, average marks is enough for them. That's how they believe about their culture. Then Asian countries are famous for high power distance, that the teacher has the full authority over the students. So this is one of the prevailing culture existing in Asian countries, especially, for example, Arabs, China, and even Japan. So they believe that teachers are guru, most respected. While in Western countries, they are more of lower power distance, meaning they treat like teachers and students, they are just like equal. It's just that you are the teacher and I am the student. In fact, when they call the teacher, they don't call doctor or any salutation. They just say revenue, SWAD. This is how the lower power distance culture in Western countries. And also, Asian are famous for a teacher-centered oriented approach in the classrooms, in classroom settings, while in the US, it is more of a student-centered approach. And also, because of high power distance, the collectivism is famous in the Asian countries, where when authority is rest for the teacher, then the decision should be collective in such a way that students should have to agree with the teacher's decision. However, in Western, like US, British, they are more individualistic. They are self-independent. So they have their own opinion and they wanted to raise that opinion even in classes, in any settings. And also, Asian people, they are achievement oriented. As I've told you, they are more of getting high marks and to be top in the class. This is how the Asian people, and they have also competitive spirit. I want to be number one. I don't want to settle number 2. But Western people, they do the other way. They are more on how problem solving can be and how to be critical. So pragmatic thinking. And the last one, Asian, they have long-term orientation. I want to finish because I want a good job in the future. We are futuristic, future-oriented, but Western people, they live for the day. If they have food now, if they have work now, they will enjoy now. They don't think much of how their future would be shaped. So this is the Western people. So you see the difference. Sorry. Why we need this study? The researchers, 3 of us who collaboratively make this, wanted to find out that culture influences academic performance of students in Oman context, and of course, in particular, in Al-Zahra College for women. It applies to us. We wanted to find out if it applies to Al-Zahra, being a women college in Oman, and considering that most of the students are living outside Muscat. Is there something has something to do with the subcultures? And the third one is what extent the culture impacts the academic performance of the students. What I'm trying to point out here is that how many percentage of the variation or the changes or the influence of the academic performance is attributed to culture. Okay, so these are the 2 objectives. As you can see, influence of the culture on academic performance. By the way, we are using Hope-TDIS model, and we find this very valid instrument. In fact, this was used since 1980s. So we have decided that we will use this. Second, to assess each of the impacts of the dimensions. There are 5 dimensions of Hope-TDIS culture. As you see here, power distance, individualism, collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, masculinity, long-term, short-term orientation, and how it impacts individually to academic performance. So the same thing, it says in our assumption that there is significant impact of culture on academic performance, and each of the dimensions has impact on academic performance. This is our hypothesis or our hypothetical assumption. Okay, let's proceed to some of the definition of the variables. I have made it as shortest as possible. Power distance, this is inequality of power, wherein the teacher has the power over the students in a classroom setting, or a leader should have the authority over the members. Individualism, it says individuals prefer to make their own decision without influence with other people, while collectivism, they have a group decision. Uncertainty avoidance, this is intolerance or not tolerating uncertainties in life, meaning you don't want to be in doubt. You want always directed. You want always that you are in the right direction. So any circumstances which can create doubt on your part, you will not accept it. Masculinity, this is dominance of men over women in decision making. Femininity, this is the opposite, wherein men and women have equal powers, authorities. So like, for example, in Oman, you can see that in the government or in the private, you will see that men and women have equal opportunities for work. Long-term orientation, this is futuristic, or you are longing for future rewards. So why we study now? Because in the future, we will have a good job. Sorry. Short-term orientation means past and present is just enough. If I have food for the day, I will enjoy for the day, and let's wait for tomorrow. Let tomorrow think of itself. So this is short-term orientation. Okay, so this is how I gather the data. We gather the data. So obviously, this is a quantitative research. And we the sample is our students in Al-Zahra, particularly in the Managerial and Financial Sciences Department, wherein I am one of the staff. So how we gather, we decided to have purposive sampling, considering that we exclude the first year levels in the survey because their tenure in the college is still very short. So we started with the second year to fourth year students. That's how we got up with 150 samples. And of course, we have so many tests to see its face validity or reliability, as mentioned in the instrument, in the study. So we use the modified Hofstadter's cultural dimension questionnaire, and we had it validated. And that to measure the variables used for the dimensions, the 5 dimensions, and we use the GPA for academic performance. That's why we exclude the first year level for it. And to analyze, we have these 4 tools: frequencies, means, averages, correlation, regression. And actually, we had made the questionnaire bilingual to make sure that the students really understand, if not in English, so in Arabic. So this is the key findings of the study. Basically, out of the 150, you will find 23% are accounting, the majority, 105, administration, and finance, 6.7%. So this is the major findings of the study. Culture is positively has positively influenced academic performance. So there is impact between these two. And as to individual impacts, you will find that power distance not significant. So while power distance is prevalent in the Asian countries, we found that in Al-Zahra, it does not matter here, not significant. But individualism, collectivism, it is significant and positive. So this is mixed, like you can mix individualism and collectivism and how it impacts on performance. Meaning in a classroom setting, you might use in a group setting, 1 and 3 in the other, individual and group. So it's like open approach. Not that groups will be 5, should be structured, but you can do like one presenter or the other one is in a group presentation. So that's how it can be possible. And then uncertainty avoidance. This is something very interesting result, because normally if we are structured like Asian country, we are we promote uncertainty avoidance. But here we found out that students, they become open. They are becoming open-minded in the sense that they said that if the uncertainty avoidance increase, the performance, academic performance decrease. So they are open to new approaches, not the teacher-centered approach only. And masculinity, we don't have impact here. But long-term orientation, it has significant and negative impact. This means that students, while thinking that they want to have a job in the future, they are beginning to be short-term oriented, which means they want it to be practical, not always oriented with the future events. Then, as to the extent, actually, the dependent variables, the 5 variables, it comprise 68% of explanation to the independent variable, meaning the performance. So, meaning culture has really an impact, 68% out of 100. So there is something that we need to investigate with the culture as a determinant to performance. So now with the conclusion, we have found here that the dimensions, Hofstadter's cultural dimensions, the 5, has proved to be significant factor of students' academic performance in Al-Zahra College for Women. And there are 3 prevailing variables who significantly affects the performance of the students. This is individualism, collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term orientation. And lastly, this study has confirmed that culture plays a big role in determining academic performance. And finally, the recommendations in this study. So we promote to have student-centered learning. So from a highly structured approach to a student-centered approach, which we are actually beginning to promote in the college. And second, the curriculum can be, culture can be integrated in the curriculum in the sense that we promote open-mindedness, maybe in the assessments, critical thinking, assignments, open-ended assessments, case studies. These are the things that can help the students actually become practical. So not necessarily to get high marks and then they cannot find jobs in the field. As we hear from outside that employers want students who have average marks but can express themselves, especially English or other determining factors. And then the third one is we suggest that we will give less emphasis on paper and pencil assessment test and more assessment on component recommendation number 2. So we may suggest also that 30% student portfolio or student work can be increased into 50%. I believe that this is not an easy process, but through time, we can achieve this. And also in consonance with the demands of the employers. And I think I have said so much. And thank you very much for your time and for listening this presentation.
دكتورة عندك ميوت دكتورة رجاء دكتورة ميوت عندك ميوت دكتورة ميوت تسمعيني دكتورة تسمعيني دكتورة
Okay, sorry. Again, I would like to just remind you that sorry. Okay, I would like to remind you that before I receive your comment or question to Dr. Revenio, I will send the link regarding the form. All of academic staff from managerial and financial sciences department, they have to fill all pages, and the other participant just first page, while if you are attending outside of Oman, no need to fill, I mean, you don't want to worry about it. Okay, so please, any question? Any question?
Big doctor. Big. Small.
Dr. Jassim, I'd like to ask you a question.
Dr. Muhammad?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Revenio, for sharing this presentation. It's very interesting. And in the context of your
Dr.
study,
Muhammad,
the background.
We couldn't hear you.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, first let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Muhammad Razak. I'm from Sultan Qaboos University, Department of Management. I'm an assistant professor there. And I joined this meeting at the invitation of Dr. Suad Jassim. So it's a very interesting presentation by Dr. Revenio. So Dr. Revenio, I just had one question for you. The Hofstede's cultural dimension theory has been criticized by some scholars because it ignores the family subculture aspect. What's your take on that? Because there are cultural, the multiple distances that Hofstede mentions, but it does overlook the fact that some of the personal attitudes that people form are derived from their family environment. So would you say that this is one of the limitations of this study?
Yeah, definitely. I have not shown the limitation of the study actually, but the focus of the study, Doctor, is the students in Al-Zahra. So regardless of whether the family culture has impact on the students' behavior. So it's that's the scope of the study. So of course we can add that one to widen the coverage of the study. But the focus is more on the student side. So we don't include the behavioral influences by the parents as to their decisions.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just one more question, sir. This was regarding in your sample selection of respondents, you decided to exclude first-year students, but
Yes.
even though their tenure at the college is not much, but their exposure to cultural dimensions are actually significant. They inherit the culture. So do you think that it was a good decision to exclude first-year students?
According to what we have decided, Doctor, because we are matching this to the academic performance, we consider that in the first year level, so it may not be very significant if we match the GPA in the first year only. So we try to dig deeper. So we consider second year, considering that they have finished the first year. So this is how we view about the how we select the respondents, as we have decided with my colleagues.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Dr. Revenio, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Revenio.
Yes. Good morning, Doctor.
Yes, Dr. Yahya?
Yes.
You conducted two tests, the first one collectively and the second one individually. The results was not consistent. This is one of your recommendation, your paper, or one you're finding. So you found collectively that most of them are impacting the students, but when you went to test them individually, you found the results different. Now, my question, Dr. Revenio, okay, based on what you form your recommendations, based on the first test or second test, with the collectively or individually? This is the first question.
Doctor, thank you for your question. First and foremost, we had it mixed. We didn't separate the collection for that specific purpose and for the other purpose, because we are not determining, we are not using a statistical tool that would really specify whether this collectivism significantly affects the performance and the other one also. So we had it mixed in our questionnaire. So if you want to see the impact individual, we may use the P statistics to make sure that this has significant collectivism has significantly impacted like this, and individualism to this. So what we did, we mix it in the questionnaire in such a way that we don't specify basically this is individualistic and this is the result, and this. So we made it one in the questionnaire. It's a mix, Doctor.
Mix. Okay. Okay. So my
we
second
have
question.
not gone through like specific that we collect this specifically.
Okay. Okay,
individualism or collectivism to this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My second question, because I am from quantitative research perspective, I need to ask you, what kind of technique or used to test the validity and reliability of the research? Did you use Cranbach alpha for this purpose?
Actually, in the paper, Doctor, we have used the Cranbach alpha in the paper, and we had like 0.900. So we test because there are 33 question items.
Okay. Okay, Doctor.
Yeah, we tested the reliability. Yeah.
Okay. My final question. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know quantitative research more concerns about generalization of the results.
Yes.
And because of your sample size is very low, you are using just Zahra College students. Do you have any plan to extend the sample so the generalization will be more and very high?
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. This is very interesting. In my findings, because I have not put here the limitations and future scope, we have mentioned there that this should be wider, and in fact, there should be comparative study, because I cannot depend on Al-Zahra only. So follow-up study, which will be comparative, not only to have wider scope, but comparative study. And also it can include other cultural variables. That's what we mentioned.
Thank you very much, Dr. Revenio.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Saad. Thank you, Dr. Saad.
Thank you. May I ask a question, Doctor?
Yes, please, Dr. Rahim.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Revenio, for this great presentation and effort. The fourth dimension about femininity and masculinity, how you measure it within sample only from female students?
That yes, Doctor, we consider that actually. So that's why we modify the questionnaire, because the questionnaire cannot be solicited to men. So we modify the questionnaire in such that it will be focused on men, but with the characteristics being present. So for example, dominating attitude, for example, we classify from that question, because we cannot get the real score for a college which has only female students. So we modify the questionnaire of Hofstede, and we do the validity testing, reliability testing.
And
otherwise, if there is men and women, it will be okay.
But this is your result showing there is no impact, because for men usually they go for hero, for other positions, but for female they enjoy the life, they spend money, etc. How you measure it, that the impact? Sometimes you can make it limitation in this dimension if you can, because it seems the result you got it is not showing that maybe impact, because maybe this you can consider this point. Thank you very much.
Yes, duly considered, Doctor. I consider that as a limitation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you, Dr. Yahya, Dr. Muhammad, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you for your questions, your comments. Definitely will add to Dr. Revenio. But I just want to remind you about the link that we sent for the certificate. Kindly try to fill the form to get your certificate. And please, if you have any questions, any more comments?
It will be me.
Yes, anything you want to ask Dr. Revenio, also Dr. Anas Bashir?
Dr. Jassim.
Yes.
May I say something?
Yeah,
this
please.
Is Dr. Muhammad again.
Yeah, please, Doctor, please.
So I think Dr. Revenio's background he gave was very important. He mentioned the difference between the Asian approach to education and the Western approach to education. And this is very important because in the Asian culture, there's too much emphasis on marks and grades. and less emphasis on learning. On the other hand, in the Western society, you find that they're less bothered about grades and more bothered about knowledge. And as a result, you can see the innovation and the research and development difference between Western society and ours. So I think the background he gave was very important. So I really would like to thank him for the perspective he has launched his research on.
Thank you.
Most
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, any question? Any comment? Dr. Revenio, would you like to add something? I mean, from your point of view, how you see this research, we can link it with your teaching and let's say your let's say material that you teach to your student, in which topic, for example, where you find this research paper, you will add it.
Actually, I emphasize their open-mindedness. It's breaking the concept of pure lecture concept. It's a highly structured teaching to an open or student-centered teaching. So actually, we can use in different subjects because we more focus on the approach. For example, if you give a case study, that could be very difficult for the students, but in the long run, if it's really emphasized, then it can change the mindset. Because, you know, as I told you, Asian people, I only concerned of the marks, darajat.
Yes.
When I get my marks, darajat, kalas, I have certificate, not knowing that if you go to the job market, you will find that you have a very good marks, but nothing is certain for your employment. So this is, I'm very focused on the syllabus. For example, you can add your activities there. So there are many like flexible assessment. There is case study. So why don't we try? That's why if we increase the student work, then it will give value for the students. They might say that this is too much, teacher, but the long-term impact of it is very great. As we already know that the job market wants people who can speak, who can express, not only paper and pencil that you are 100% marks and you cannot even express yourself. So I'm more focused on the changing of the structure of the assessment. If we can do that, it would be much better. And I have given some of the assessment methods there in my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
So again, I would like to remind my dear colleagues to just follow the all pages in the form to see this paper, this research, how we can link it with our especially for the under the management major, how we can link it, in which topic we can link this research paper. Thank you, Dr. Revenio. Please, if you have any comment before you end this seminar and the second episode and research scientific and learning and teaching nexus, please, if you have anything, before we end this session. And I again remind you about the certificate. You have to fill the form to get your certificate. So we have two links, one for the form related to this, your opinion about this research paper, and the second link about the certificate. Any question, any comments? So I would like to say thank you for all of you. Thank you for participation. Thank you for questions. And I hope to see you again in the third episode. Thank you and have a lovely day. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Revenio. Thank you.
Finish. Yes. Huh? I don't know how to leave.